Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in our last episode, something happened to the ship. Was it attacked? Was it trying to veer around something? Whatever it was, it shifted everything on the bookshelf to the side, exactly how it was when we discovered it. So the theory is that this same event, or maybe a very similar one, is what happened on the night that Kazuma was murdered. So maybe that will unlock some pieces of this mystery as we continue to unravel it. So without further ado, let's hop in and see what happened. 9th of January, SS Beria, Miss Pavlova's cabin. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. We were in her cabin. We weren't supposed to be in her cabin. So yeah, it's gonna be special. Somehow, the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Oh, that was the other thing too. So when the boat shifted, the bolt slid into place. So also I theorized that that's what happened in Kazuma's room, like that the boat shifted and the bolt closed in place. That it wasn't a closed door mystery. Whoever did whatever could have gotten in and out, and then the boat shifted. Suzada-san took a deep breath, then gently slid back the bolt. Oh, he don't look happy. You! What you are doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? You both look unhurt. Good. Yes, we're fine, thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. Oh, how did that happen? There's a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought he saw a ship ahead. This person obviously triggered the alarm, and that's why we made an emergency stop. The alarm that's right outside our cabins, maybe? Everything is chaos. Passengers are screaming. Crew are running everywhere. And this first-class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment. Oh, I see. Someone triggered the alarm. Does that mean that someone pressed that button outside? That's what I think. Ah, you wicked intruder! Dressed all in black, you are the devil. Sorry? Me? I've been called a lot of things before, but devil is a first. You opened my traveling case. How could you? What? No, we didn't touch it. That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin. Inspector! Yes. Arrest this man. I know he did it. He is a criminal. Is it not enough that he has killed a man? Ah, and he has stowaway as well. If Vixen promises not to steal chicken, do you believe? Ugh. Take him away. He is a trespasser as well as everything else. Stowing away, trespassing, killing. She is right. You're a devil. It doesn't look good, does it? I wouldn't say so. There's cell below deck. Throw him in. Tomorrow we dock at Hong Kong. Then we give you straight to police. Wait, a cell? Please, Inspector Hosonaga, is there nothing you can do? This is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I think I'm out of options. Yeah, he got beat up when he tried to stand up for us before. This is terrible. So, we just found Herlock Sholmes. What are you doing up there? Mr. Sholmes? He has a princess crown on. Alright, that's epic. Naturally, I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on one's head. Have I not told you that as a detective, it is my business to know what other people do not? This isn't mere tomfoolery, boy. Oh, no, no. Well, why were you hanging from that hook before then? Isn't it obvious? To properly assess the weight of 20,000 rubles, naturally. I wish to determine if it would bend that conceited-looking hook on the wall, so full of brag and bounce. I never know whether to take this man seriously or not. Ah, you again, the great detective. Ah, Inspector, I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently. Well, you might try looking for me somewhere other than a hook on the wall next time. What is to report? Speak. An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes, the case of the curious murder that took place last night here on this vessel, the steamship Buria, has been solved. By me, naturally. She's surprised? What? Really? Yes, I have eliminated all other possibilities. No other explanations exist. So, allow me to illuminate all your minds. For I am about to reveal my great detective's ability at my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Can you say great any more times, my good sir? Ha! You have solved it! Even Hedgehog understands this case. We all knew who was responsible for killing student boy this morning when we found criminal in wardrobe. It is this stowaway, and he has handcuffs to prove it. I didn't do it. The trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim. Because as everyone knows, the cabin door was bolted shut from the inside. Oh, but we have knowledge about that, sir. And that means the culprit must have been someone who was inside the cabin. Yes, it's what's called a locked door or locked room mystery in detective stories. Duh, locked room, that is point. The room was locked. Well, I can't deny that. There's no way the bolt could have been drawn across from outside the cabin. You are all quite mistaken. And the cabin next door is not a so-called locked room at all. What? Oh yes, there is another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprit in order to gain access to the cabin despite the bolted door. What other entrance? We never discovered one. Why, you gapes open mouth that you now, even as we speak. It's the vent, right? Yep. The ventilator, man. The ventilator. You think this is funny? I cannot even put my arm through that hole. That's because your arms are as thick as tree trunks. You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through that tiny opening. It's not possible. Ah, but it is. And last night, the victim even witnessed the intruder in the act of passing through the ventilator. She's very suspiciously silent. Does it have to do with your friend? Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the words Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Precisely, my dear madam. But what does it mean? What is this speckled band? The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin. Oh boy. Mr. Sholmes? What are you doing? There's a distinct element of danger, but fear not, I am ready. What I am about to expose for you all to see will shock you to your cores. Behold. Yeah! What the... I knew it! I knew it! Allow me to introduce you all to the band, the Speckled Band. Snake? Indubitably. She's very quiet. He is shocked as well. She has no words. Oh boy. Mr. Sholmes, just one thing. Pray, what troubles you? Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? It looks more stripy, wouldn't you say? So that might be your friend, but maybe it's not the speckled man?
Yes, I think you're right. I think in this case you'd have to call it the Striped Band, wouldn't you?
He's like, you both see and observe with distinction. However, do you not think that that is precisely the trap into which the culprit wishes you to fall?
Oh my goodness, really? It's a trap?
How exactly? I think perhaps it's time I explain the intricacies of my train of thought. Are you ready, Miss Pavlova?
I'm sorry for the young man who died, that is all. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me.
There are two conclusions I have drawn from the facts. Number one. Last night, your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin. And number two. The same friend was responsible for the victim losing his life.
No.
She's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. Sholmes must be right. He's hit the nail on the head.
This young woman's friend killed Mr. Osogi.
He didn't say he killed him. He said he was responsible for his death. I love how he's just like, are you going to pass out yet because you can't breathe, sir? It looks like he can't speak with that snake coiled around his head. I would advise as little movement as possible, seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs of that long friend in your neck. So everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. The game is afoot. Topic 1. The intruder's identity. Miss Pavlova, moments ago, you claimed the following. His death is nothing to do with me. The whole thing is nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those hard events, your aching heart smarts with pain. And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? As I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled man, whereas regrettably, The specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night?
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you are trying, but failing to conceal, can only be the snake's sloughed skin. Evidently, after this subtle and horrible crime, this most deadly friend of yours shed its original skin, no?
I don't know what you are talking about.
Last night, through the ventilator visible in this cabin, your then speckled friend slithered next door. Using the bell cord on the other side of the bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to the young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled band. In summary, the nature of this friend of yours, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a rare breed of snake whose markings change each time it sloughs its skin. A snake so dreadful we can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India. Okay, so the conclusion is a beloved speckled snake. Topic 2, how Mr. Asogi died. Alright. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life? And why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. That is wrong, he had no poison. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be?
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. The almost, but not quite imperceptible puncture wounds left by the venomous fangs will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of the snake bite delivered by your terrifying friend.
This makes no sense.
There is no point feigning ignorance, Miss Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right, you hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. When we first met in the cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. Your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt.
You don't.
It is telling that the victim made note of a low whistling sound that he heard minutes before his end. That was your signal, was it not? The sound you had used to train your serpent friend.
To train?
He's gone from accidental snake bite to, intentional murder. Indeed, you'd put the serpent through the ventilator and wait. After a period, you'd summon it back with a whistle. You couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life next door. If the victim appeared not to have been dispatched, you'd release the snake once more. Do you deny this snake has undergone such training?
It's not true.
Having slithered through the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once, and his venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever. That is the true nature of the speckled band that took the poor young man's life. There can be no doubt my logic is infallible. But is it, though? Death by a venomous snake's bite? I don't think so. Alright. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of the speckled band. Alright. They're all stunned. They're like, what? Miss Pavlova has trained her pet snake as a killing machine. There on the floor, you observe a saucer of milk. The promise of food is the key to trading any creature. Does a saucer of milk, does that mean her pet is a kitten? It makes me wonder. Incredible. You've solved the mystery. Amazing. Your great deduction really lives up to its name. I see now why Herlock Sholmes has become such a household name. My dear man, it was nothing remarkable. As the Russians say, I could have done it with one left hand. She's not buying it.
Could I venture an opinion, Mr. Sholmes?
But of course, what's on your mind?
It's just about your deductions before. Some things don't quite make sense to me.
I welcome questions as to my method, and will answer both loudly and proudly.
Oh, well, good. First of all, snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family.
You are well informed, madam.
And reptiles, don't drink milk.
Ah.
It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it would be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward.
No matter, no doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treat to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk was merely an example. The logic holds.
Well, there is something else. Snakes have no ears.
Ah.
Yes, so I'm not sure it would really be possible to signal to a snake by whistling.
But, madam, what of the tales from Arabia? Have you heard of the snakes that dance to the sounds of a flute?
I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm revising my theory. Okay, I think her friend was a kitten, and the speckled band was the kitten's tail that was dangling from the vent. It got up into the vent somehow, and she was whistling to call it back. That's my new theory. No hands, no feet, no ears. These creatures are so inept as to be practically useless. Don't take it out on the snakes, Mr. Sholmes.
There is one other thing.
You have more?
Snakes use the scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure a snake can manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the ones in these cabins.
Then it should try harder.
Please, don't be angry with me, Mr. Sholmes. The point is, even if the snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it couldn't have come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine the snake could have had a part in this.
He's like, Okay. Everyone's just like trying to figure out what to say next.
I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Norohodo.
Oh no, you don't mean.
Yes, we need to modify Mr. Sholmes' latest deductions and turn them into the great ones they ought to be.
I had a feeling that was coming. Alright, let's give it a try. Just what I was waiting for, Mr. Naruto. Yes, right. It's now a party. I have emerged. Welcome, Night Flurry. So cast your eyes down to your wrists again. What? Oh, we're gonna be free of our handcuffs again? You've done it again. The anime poses, right?
Your handcuffs are gone.
Where did they go? It's a miracle. Fear not, I shall see they're restored after our work is done. I really wish you'd leave them off. Now, everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Sholmes, exactly, right? Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright, the intruder's identity. Sherlock Holmes by him. Miss Pavlova, moments ago, you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those hard events, your aching heart smarts with pain. She does have a pained expression on her face.
Yes, that's true. She looks as though Kazuma-sama's death is weighing heavily on her mind.
But you're not sure Mr. Sholmes has read her quite correctly, is that it? Could there be some other way to interpret her expression then?
Let's take a moment and really look very closely at Miss Pavlova.
Alright, oh, she has a cat scratch. Alright, there we go.
Yes!
Yes, when you recall those horrid events, that claw scratch smarts with pain. Indeed, and simple observation reveals that the wound is fresh. Miss Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch sometime last night?
Ah. When I think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. And when I am sad, the pain from this wound is worse.
And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. It seems that the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? Except, snakes don't have claws, do they?
No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet on which claws might grow.
Well then, if that snake isn't her pet, what is? What's the true identity of this friend of hers?
We should follow her gaze, Naruto-san. That's where we'll find the answer.
Alright, so let's follow her gaze. Aha! Alright, the true identity of her pet.
Yes!
You were looking over at this framed photographic print, weren't you, Miss Pavlova? But let's not be distracted by the print itself. Oh no. It's the frame that is your friend, isn't it? Because it so beautifully displays what you put inside it. What spectacular... Wait, what? Okay, okay. Oh, well, it's supposed to be a logic and reasoning spectacular, so I thought I'd contribute to the show. This is my show, Mr. Honorohodo. Kindly perform any peculiar experiments on your own stage. Sorry. Okay, so it is the picture, but I've got to look at the picture itself, right? Alright. We can be reasonably sure that Miss Pavlova's furtive glance was aimed at her friend, and that same friend is probably responsible for the scratch on the back of her hand. Alright.
We also know that whatever it is, this friend must be small enough to pass through the ventilator.
That really ought to narrow it down. Let me scout around again in the direction she looked. Alright. It's not the photographic frame. It's... No! Okay, I'm looking... okay. Look at the photograph in this frame. I could see that from where it was. That's why I was pointing at it. This must be something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away.
She is exceptionally beautiful, isn't she?
Yes, that's true. But personally, it's the little black creature she's holding that's caught my eye. Maybe we better take a closer look at this. Alright, so it's the little kitten.
Yes!
There we go. Alright. Without doubt, your friend is the little kitten we see before us. Yes, the scratch on the back of your head makes that abundantly clear.
Oh no.
The whereabouts of this black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear is that you brought the animal with you when you ran away, didn't you?
Darka is my best friend. I couldn't leave her behind.
Darka would appear to be a Russian balloon. And yet the fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band, whereas regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night?
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you are trying, but failing to conceal, can only be the snake's loud skin. I alt-tabbed and come back to the stream to a man being strangled by a snake, right?
Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back.
If she just left it in her pocket, no one would ever have known.
Oh yes, toys like that are Mr. Shom's specialty. He's ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something.
Like I was gone 5 minutes, right? I thought deduction was his specialty, or maybe making me believe that was a ploy too.
Anyway, I find it hard to believe that's the skin of a snake.
In which case, just what is Miss Pavlova hiding behind her back? Alright, let's look, shall we? It's like a cat toy, right? No. It's not snake skin. How are we supposed to look at this? Because it's not... That's not what that is. Let's look at this. Well, it is speckled, and it is a band, but... What is it? It seems to be soft and fluffy. A long piece of cloth of some sort. It's a cat toy. And that looks like a handle at one end.
I think it may be a cat's toy. This sort of is common in the West, apparently.
How is it a toy for cats?
Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kittens in particular love that sort of play. You only need to wave it in front of them and they pounce to catch it.
That sounds positively adorable. Alright, cat's toy. There we go.
Yes!
Alright, yes, that which you are trying to hide. The thing you are trying but failing to conceal is, a cat's toy. Precisely, and the true nature of the now infamous speckled band.
Ah,
And it was this toy that you dangled through the ventilator. You waved it around, I presume, and naturally the victim could not fail to notice it. But why? For what reason? Because the kitten climbed through the vents, perhaps, using the stuff by the bed to climb down? My dear boy, there can be only one answer to that. After her feline friend disappeared through the ventilator into the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use the speckled cat's toy to incite the creature to return. Ah, that's right. Okay. In summary, this nature of this friend of Miss Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome Russian blue breed of a cat by the name of Darka. She's like, my friend has been found out. A truly troublesome feline, young Darka is proving to be. She must be caged once found. You will forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Miss Pavlova. Alright, so the photograph of Miss Pavlova and Darka has been entered into the court record. A photograph of Miss Pavlova and her friend, a kitten named Darka. The tiara she would wear on stage can also be seen. Alright? So now,
it was after I gave her food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she had disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she is so naughty.
alright, so it's a beloved kitten. Alright? Got that? Now how Mr. Sogi died. Oh boy. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear there are no visible signs of injury.
Ah,
In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom, except for kittens don't have venom.
what Mr. Shum says is true. There were no signs of a wound anywhere on Kazuma-sama's body.
That's right, but Mr. Shom seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Kazuma wasn't poisoned.
Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he's missing now.
Alright, so a report from the SS Bury, a medical officer, giving the cause of death as a cervical spine injury. There were no traces of external injury or poison. Right.
Yes!
In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the post-mortem report. Yes, I knew it was one or the other. His
Neck was...
Indeed, the breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that. Seaman Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know. The jury is out. Anyway, we have it on good authority that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be?
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively.
What?
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something or someone.
Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapon has been found, though.
Presumably, Darka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him a fatal blow.
I suppose it's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. It could have been a terrible act of misfortune, that he broke his neck completely by accident.
Exactly when the ship tilted, right? Oh, okay. Oh, yes, a bad fall could explain it.
It's rather hard to believe of Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man.
Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from this scene that could explain what happened? Alright, so we have this, that's a cat bell then, right? Maybe, okay. Let's see. An examination, alright. A small glass object and what looks like a scuff mark made by Kazuma's shoes were found. Could that explain it? We could try this. I don't know if it explains it conclusively, but it does show that maybe he
Yes!
tripped. Let's see. Mark on the floor. Okay. Yes, an examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. This particular mark, so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish.
Shoe polish?
Indeed, positively identified by a little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results, the undeniable ingredients of shoe polish. And the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Sogi's lace leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Sogi must have caught his foot at that point on the floor and tripped. He tripped over the cat, right?
Please, no.
And by a dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered, and in that instant, he lost his life.
No. I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Asogi lost his life? Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. And that's right, you hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case.
I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama merely tripped over, and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it.
I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that's what happened.
But...
And if this part of Mr. Shom's deduction is right, Miss Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in the cabin, somewhere in the direction that she just cast her eyes.
Where, I wonder?
Let's have a good look around. The answer must be here somewhere. Alright, so it's going to be behind this, right? There's the tiara. But what would that do, though? The evidence is a bell, right? Is it a bell from... Let me look at this. Somebody appears to have dropped 20,000 rubles here.
It hasn't been dropped, Norohodo-san. It's been placed.
I'm starting to sound like Mr. Shore.
Stop trying to sound like the great detective.
Alright, so maybe, right? I mean, that's the only thing that we can look at, right? I don't see anything else. It's got to be that, but why? I'm not quite sure. Can we look at any of this other stuff? We can only look at that, right? That's the only thing we can look at there, right? It's got to be this. There's nothing else.
Yes!
No, it can't be in the tiara, right? Alright. So, it's not the tiara. You try to hide the evidence in plain sight with the tiara. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's not that. Don't give me that wide-eyed, incredulous stare. I know that truth. That 20,000 rubles is enough to make anyone lose their head. This is not right. That deduction is wanting in every way. I'm looking for the cat's collar. I think that's what it is. I find myself wanting never to have heard it. I'm quite pained by it, in fact. Yes, I am too. Alright, so there's gotta be... Because it's the little bell. That was what was beside his shoe, right? So how can we find that? Alright.
I still can't bring myself to believe it.
Alright.
It still seems so unlike Kazuma-sama to stumble carelessly and then fall to his death.
I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that's what happened. Unless it's the bottle. I have a feeling there's something here in this cabin that links Miss Pavlova to that mark. And we'll find it in the direction she's guiltily cast her eyes. Is it... I mean, because we can't click on the bottle, right? There's the waste paper basket, right? Maybe. What's in here? Can we look in here?
This is a waste paper basket. Perhaps all the first-class cabins have them.
But Miss Pavlova only started occupying this cabin late last night. Presumably there's not much rubbish in there yet. Ah! Oh, what's that?
It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I feel like I've seen it somewhere before.
If it looks familiar, perhaps it's more than your mind playing simple tricks on you.
Alright, so that's what it is, right? Can we somehow... I guess we have to present this, right?
Yes!
It's in the waste paper basket. Alright. That's right. You had the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that waste paper basket.
Ah,
Here, we have the fragment of some intricate glass object, it could seem. One that has a familiar air, in fact. Precisely. We found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Mr. Osogi's cabin. And as you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly.
oh no.
So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why would it be that part of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the waste paper basket in your cabin?
Ah,
You are well acquainted with this glass bell, are you not?
I don't...
I don't know, in that hushed Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question.
What?
Take it away, Mr. Norohodo. Yes, it's in the photo. The evidence linking Miss Pavlova to that little glass bell would be... this. Right there. Alright.
Yes!
If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, the very glass bell in question. The truth has caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall. And the cause of that fateful stumble? Your absent feline friend, Darka. Now she's like totally feeling the guilt, right?
I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry.
Death by tripping over a cat. What an embarrassing death. Deduction complete. Elementary. Nice. Alright, now what's gonna happen? Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night.
It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands.
People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments.
She was so fast, she disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her.
And that is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it?
Yes. And I had read the, rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darka with me.
Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really.
So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure. If someone was there, he must be sleeping.
So at that point, you thought it safe to try to lure the kitten back again. By dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator and into the adjoining cabin.
Darka always loved this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return.
So the faint whistling sound Kazuma wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened.
Yes, there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then...
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out, and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent.
Kazuma was...
From the appearances of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping up. The SS Gloria is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. If Mr. Osogi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet, the combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator.
Yet Darka is nowhere to be seen.
I must have forgotten to lock my case. And now she's disappeared again.
Gracious, that cat is as insufferably restless as I am. Well, he knows something about himself at least.
When I awoke this morning, I heard that a young man in the cabin next to mine had died. But I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back.
Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake?
You're right. Where is it?
If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board this ship? Is it his pet? Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Piroska. Wait, Piroska. Pirosco. What? What?
That snake belongs to you.
He escaped from cage when emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here. Yes, how did that snake get into this cabin?
But animals are not permitted on board.
Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long without close friends? Without someone who understands? Couldn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better? But, my dear burly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake? Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in. No venom. Pirosco does not have venom. He is harmless, very long but gentle. He is adorable, like Granny. It's venomless? Yes. Now he is hungry, so he is in bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Ha! Like they say, milk chickens? Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk, or only in stupid stories. Pirosco eats mouses. Big fat round mouses. Ah. Oh, so... is that what the mouse trap in the passageway out there is for? Of course. How else can I catch my friend's favorite food? Nothing so top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. His face is blank. It refuses to drink milk. It can't hear a whistle. It can't climb up a bell cord. And it's not even venomous. How the deuce did something so inept land a starring role? It's not my fault. I do not make up stories. My Pirosco has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. And that's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. Oh boy. Are we finally going to have the handcuffs taken off once and for all, now that it's proven we didn't actually kill him? Everyone's like lost in thought.
Miss Pavlova. I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize. But please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. But...
what are you talking about, Miss Mikotova? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It was just a series of unfortunate events, an accident. What was it?
I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo?
I mean, my question is, I think she had to push the button or something, or to cover up her lies or something, because if the ship was already tilting, she would have heard sounds, right? It wouldn't have been quiet, right? To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it. I confess, I I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh. I am only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Norohodo, are simply a distraction. A distraction? I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Not again. When did he do that? Especially as they're on your wrists as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? Yeah, you could say that, yes. Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom, even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Norohodo. Yes, whatever that may be. Alright. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. Alright. The truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Norohodo.
So then, shall we begin? Yes. What should we ponder first? Is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside? Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. But we've already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident.
Hold it!
Wait, let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it?
I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid.
Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There is a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Really? Let us show our hands, Mr. Norohodo. Time to present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident. It's, the writing, right?
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asagi could have left this message on the floor. That script, it's Russian, isn't it? Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language, Japanese in this case, but he also broke his neck, so he couldn't write a message. He was dead instantly, right?
But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast.
That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Asagi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Ah. Which means after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything because he was already dead.
That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Osogi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if what Miss Pavlova told us was true.
What? So Susada-san has noticed it too, then. Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. In other words, what was it? Let's see. What do we have? We have the paper seal. Kazuma's diary. What else was in his report? I mean, there's the bell, but that doesn't really make sense. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. What's in his diary? Anything? I can hear a faint whistling sound. It looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. Keep out. Oops. I can't find anything out of place. What's on the back of this? This was... I mean, there's this. You drew the characters for this paper seal, didn't you, Norohodo-san? They're such bold, vivid strokes you made. You're looking at a man who came aboard inside a trunk. Those brushstrokes needed to make a statement. If they'd found me in that wardrobe, those Russians would have hurled me into the freezing cold ocean.
I'm sure none of the crewmen would have done anything like that.
Well, I'm not so sure.
They would have forced you to wash dishes in the galley until you were on death's door, or something like that.
Wash dishes until I was on death's door. That's a lot of dishes. Okay, I don't know about that. Maybe... What else was there here? What else do we have? Let's see. I mean, the only other thing that was there is the bell. I don't understand how that would have helped. Post-mortem report, let's see. No obvious signs of external injuries or traces of poison. I mean, there's, only a couple of things it could be, right? There are virtually no injuries from 2 a.m. until early this morning. I mean... Maybe that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tries. It could be that. It could be this. I don't see what else, anything else would have to do with it, right? Let's try this. I really don't... Let me review the scene. Alright. Return to the question. Review... What does review the scene let you do? There was something else here. I don't know what it would be. I mean... How would... I don't know how this would... I don't know how this would help. Right? There's nothing here that we can use the magnifying glass for. I wouldn't think. Okay. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. What would it be? I'm gonna try this. I have no idea. I have no idea what it would be.
Yes!
I don't know how this would do it. This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? Unfortunately, there is a very big flaw, a fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened, then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin? Ah, okay, that was what I was wondering. Like, if the door was locked, why would she have not gotten the other half? That doesn't make sense.
Yes, remember, we found the other half of the glass bell in that waste paper basket. Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no.
Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Osogi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth in order to cover up his or her own guilt.
Yeah. Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Osogi.
You are wasting time. Someone else was there? Duh, of course, we know this. What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. Oh, yes. And only other person in cabin when young student died was you.
Yes!
If that's true, I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. Not would have. There is no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Osogi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of this bell away? Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would have barely cast any light on the floor there. Little wonder then that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item.
You all suspect me, don't you?
Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is wonder of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills, and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on this ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, that is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You're a great detective. You should know. Was it because he was there? Look truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Niet, is impossible. He's right.
But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie thread around the door latches so they can open and close them from the outside.
Thread? Are you stupid? These bookheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. They are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap in sight. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used.
No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Norohodo suggested it earlier, so...
Saruda-san, how could you shift it onto me like that? So, Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. Exactly. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before.
I don't believe it.
Well, Mr. Norohodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside, of course. One way does spring to mind, yes.
Do you really know what Mr. Shows means, Mr. Norohodo?
Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. So would you care to do the honors, Mr. Norohodo? Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door bolt across from the outside. It's the bookshelf, right? Is it gonna light up? It's not gonna give us a hint, so it's this, right?
Yes!
Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things have been toppled over?
That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before.
Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel, after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over.
I believe, yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia acting on the objects.
Is there nothing Susada-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her book at least? Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door.
Ah, it was very obvious.
Oh, it was very obvious after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello? Is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like...
Inspector Hasunaka. Oh yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door.
Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of inertia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Osogi was killed, somebody hit the emergency brake thing? Yep. And they staged the scene. The SS Beria made another emergency stop. When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over.
Oh yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I?
Then we came into this cabin. We were surprised to see the same thing here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like Mr. Osogi's cabin.
Oh my!
Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Boya made emergency stop. It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm?
Oh, yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the button in times of emergency.
On dark nights, when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Now he's caught. Wait, it was you. When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings, and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who...
As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I'm sure that all that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learnt a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin doors slide closed. So, what we must now consider.
Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Osogi, did the ship make an emergency stop, or did it not?
You are idiots. Burya is huge ship with many passengers. If we make emergency stop, even in middle of night, there would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? We have a ship's log that is empty of entries. Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea.
Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? It's the ship's log. Yep. It's this. So let's present that.
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff. It's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship, isn't that right? That is correct. Why? And the ship's log here. This would be where you record the details of your duties. What are you doing with that? That is mine. You rather carelessly left it atop a little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase "nothing to report" every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log. That is, because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you would normally write "nothing to report," wouldn't you? Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard the SS Burya. He's covering for her, isn't he? Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log. In fact,
Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
stop talking rubbish. Okay, so if I'm perfectly honest, so what happened? I think the part about her cat accidentally killing him is true. I think he helped cover up the murder or the death and turning it into a murder.
I find that a little hard to believe myself.
Oh, why?
Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed.
No, because I think everyone was poisoned, right? Or everyone had some kind of sleeping potion, right?
That's very true.
Or some kind of gas piped in from this.
Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ship lurched so violently and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anybody would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night.
Well, no, that's a good point. What of the throbbing? Sorry, what do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We have all suffered with it.
Ah,
Oh, yes, I have had a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today.
nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn.
Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right. My head's been throbbing today, too. Because everybody was given something to force them to sleep. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Were they poisoned? Wait a second. Was this even deeper? Was this intentional because Kazuma didn't eat the food? Was the food poisoned? And the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? We had sleeping powder or something put in the food. Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, you boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yes, sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on? Well, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it? Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? He's the only one that was awake at 1 in the morning when this was happening. Everyone else ate it, that's why they were all asleep. Okay, so it was intentional, it was planned. My dear fellow, does that not strike you?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken?
I do.
No, really? Is that really true?
The meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. Tampered with by the addition of a soporific designed to induce a deep, very deep slumber in those who consumed it. Alright, so,
A sleeping drug.
indeed. Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop?
Mr. Naruhodo, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea.
That is what he means. Precisely. Releasing every meal of every passenger on board with a so perfect drug would certainly be impossible. But the first class, right? Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator.
What? Mr. Sholmes!
Well, seaman? I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. Are we finally going to figure out who the what was it, the Russian criminal was? Is he finally on board? They're all in cahoots. If you refuse to talk, there would have to be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself would be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade. He's like, you figured it out. Darn you.
Please, no more. I will tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore.
These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe.
Yes. So when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me.
We all agreed to help. Everyone together. She threw away everything. Her fame in the ballet. Mother Russia. We wanted to help our angel.
I don't believe it.
You are right. We put sleeping drug in chicken last night.
Yes, I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point.
We cannot make all drug. How do you say? Dissolve? Talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight, in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by a comrade on shore with small fishing boat. While all the passengers of the SS Beria slept soundly, thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion their evening meals had contained. So if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who just like chicken, and the newly boarded passenger, Miss Pavlova. And that means it would have been possible for you. You could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Kazuma's cabin door.
But how does that make sense?
Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked in that case, and there would have been complete chaos. Oh, I wouldn't say so.
What?
Well, because everyone would have been asleep in their cabins, right? They probably would have had it locked anyways. Of course. Just like us, all the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins, after which they would have been overwhelmed by tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Quite. And accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night.
Yes.
The overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep with their cabin doors bolted anyway, and so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolts of a single cabin door on the ship, the culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. Boom. Mic drop. He knows it's true. You have talked a long time and said many things. What is point? The point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a message in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. which would explain why the log wasn't filled in.
But, I don't know about any of this. I am just a little girl.
You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long, boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes. A laudable trait. What? I am quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruto. Oh, yes? Do you hear it? The accusatory cry of guilt on the wind?
What accusatory cry of guilt?
Sorry, you've lost me. Proof of involvement, man, but you can't hear such a call with your ears. No, you must hear it with your eyes. Observation is the basis of all deduction. What are you talking about? I believe the time has come for one final logic and reasoning spectacular to expose the truth. Oh boy. So, Mr. Naruto, your assistance, if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes? With observation, my dear fellow, just as I said, of these two prevaricators. Observation.
If you remember, Mr. Naruto, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Osogi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened.
Precisely. You're delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. Alright, I'll see what I can see. So, we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died. Alright, so who has some kind of evidence? He's got an ink stain on him. Oh, look at this. It's some kind of stain in an unusual place.
Yes, you're right. It looks like ink, if I'm not mistaken.
Ink. And look at the color, too. It's clear where this came from. Alright, so let's present that as our evidence.
Yes!
There we go. I knew it! Seaman Stroganoff. You seem to have quite a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there. Ah, yes. I don't know where the dirt comes from. So, nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain? What are you trying to say? It would appear that the significance of this stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain. Oh boy, here we go. It's a very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform.
And I think what made it is clear.
Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruto, present the evidence that proves it. My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves what the stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is... Let's see. Do we even have it? Let's see. Well, let's look at this. It's not in this one. Unless it's the ink itself. Maybe? The Russian word for wardrobe in purple ink. I mean, I guess, maybe.
Yes!
The crime scene photograph? Okay. Yes, it's photograph and the ink it shows. That's what caused the stain on your uniform. Ink. rather unusual color of ink purple. The pity drops at last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of exactly the same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way. Which means you must have been present in the cabin in the moments immediately after the ink was spilled. Alright, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in Dead Student's cabin to make it look like Wardrobe Man did it. Then I pressed button to make Vario do emergency stop and bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel.
Biff, please.
Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheep.
Biff, please, you must help me.
I went with her. The door to cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor. What happened here?
Please, don't tell anyone. My little one. My little furry friend.
Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you. The kitten escaped through the ventilator into Mr. Osogi's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor. Oh, sorry, that was the question. Yes, that's right. That is right. I'm getting all my voices messed up now.
So after the incident, when the cats ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers?
Only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor. She said she was worried when she heard sound of something falling on floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel? The door was not locked. So she opened to look, and you already know what happened after.
There's just one thing, if you wouldn't mind.
What?
When you went to Mr. Osogi's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why?
I already told you. When Nina opened door of student's cabin and looked inside.
I was asking Miss Pavlova.
Well, Miss Pavlova?
Oh. Yes, that's right. I saw him. It was dark, and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared.
So many lies.
I understand, and I believe you.
So is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazuma's death at last? Something very nearly slipped my mind. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. This photograph. Yes, I took this myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck. Therefore, the victim died instantly. And the unfortunate incident that precipitated these events, a kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there is one particular area in this photograph that seems to me somewhat unnatural. What do you mean, unnatural? What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, well, I mean, if he tripped, would he really be face forward? Like that? With his finger? If Kazuma tripped and fell, and by some terrible stroke of bad luck broke his neck, which part of this photograph print seems unnatural? The fact that his hands are closed, right? I mean, that he's pointing, right? Because if he fell, even if he fell face forward, his hands would be open, right? Right? Maybe?
Yes!
Maybe? It must be here, surely. Okay, it's not. It's not. Allow me to offer you a piece of advice regarding the pursuit of detection, my dear fellow. When noting a crucial point, it can be helpful to keep your eyes open. They were open. And it can be equally helpful to use them. Sorry, I'll try that. Alright.
I think it's plain what Mr. Sholmes means by unnatural, isn't it? The word written in a foreign language underneath his fingertips, surely.
That particular cross detail was orchestrated by the culprit. No, I mean to identify another point. Imagine, if you will, losing your footing yourself. Would you land as the victim has? One of your hands. Yeah, that's what I was trying to point out. You look like the sort of fellow who stumbles with some regularity. This should be an easy task. Why do I? I mean, it's the fact that his hands, if Kazuma tripped and fell, and by some terrible stroke of bad luck broke his neck, which part of this photograph seems unnatural? I mean, okay, maybe you could say that, but surely the fact that his hands aren't open, neither one of them are open, it's poised. Let's try this one. The fact that this one is clenched up?
Yes!
Maybe? Alright, if he really fell due to an unfortunate accident, then this fist just doesn't seem quite right. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. That's literally what I said. I just pointed to the wrong hand. Yet here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say. As though he were gripping something. What do you mean? Simply that I took the liberty of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago. You did? And what, pray, do you imagine I found there, my dear fellow?
Mr. Sholmes, show us, please.
Why, of course, my dear madam. Why would I keep you in suspense? This is what I found. That's part of the tiara? Or is it?
Oh, a crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle.
Yes, you're right, a crescent moon. It's very pretty, but what does it tell us? It tells us nothing. I'm not so sure. That crescent moon looks familiar somehow. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere before. Okay. Observation, Mr. Norohodo, that is the key. What? The truth is now tantalizingly close. How did that crescent moon come to be in Kazuma's clenched fist? This is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe, find the answer with your own eyes. Where did the crescent moon come from? It came from her earring. The right ear.
Yes!
Alright. Miss Pavlova, I noticed that on your ear, even though you have a metal earring, the decorative part seems to be missing. The little link holding it on must have broken, I suppose. What? But looking at your other ear, I notice a crescent moon. Ah. I don't believe it. Now, the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fist. Clearly, there is only one logical conclusion. Would you agree, Mr. Naruto? Yes. Miss Pavlova, Mr. Asogi must have grasped that crescent moon and pulled it from your ear. Perhaps just moments before he fell to the floor. In other words, last night in Mr. Asogi's cabin, you witnessed the moment when the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length from him. But then the question is, why did Mr. Asogi do that? Why did he pull your earring from your ear and hold it in his clenched fist during his final moments?
Oh no.
Angel. No one can protect you now. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma? We've given her the killing blow, so to speak.
When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb onto this huge ship. And then, when I was at last in this cabin and I could relax after this horrible long day. Darka, wait! I couldn't believe it when she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy. But nothing worked. Darka would not come back.
Knock, knock. Clunk. What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. Okay, so he thought the inspector was visiting him.
The young man from your country. He was very polite and kind. He helped me to find Darka, and he promised not to tell anyone. But then, when I had my friend in my arms again, and I was going to leave the man's cabin.
Just a moment. Sorry, but...
Oh, yes?
I'm sure I know your face. I've seen you somewhere before.
Ah,
Of course. You're Nikolina Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina.
huh? No, I don't know that name.
My heart nearly stopped when he said that.
He knew who I was. How could this man from a land in the faraway east know a Russian ballerina?
Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But what are you doing on this ship? I'm sure I read that your ballet company was performing in Shanghai at the moment.
And I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth and hope he doesn't tell anyone. I have no other choice.
I see. So you've run away.
Please, please keep my secret. Don't tell anyone.
me a moment. I could use another opinion here.
He's going to pull that cord. He's going to tell the captain. Why did I think I could trust him? Then it happened. Everything at once. It was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait, I shouted, and then Darka jumped out of my arms and down to the young man's feet. And as he turned around to look at me, I pushed him. I don't even know why. I don't know why I did it. I was just so scared. And I had to stop him from telling anyone about me.
And that's when you went to fetch help from Seaman Stroganoff, who was on duty out in the passageway. I heard Nina cry out and thud on floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at cabin door, shaking like a leaf. She looked at me and said,
"Help me, Biff. If they find out, I will be... Please, I have nowhere to go."
So you decided to help. And that's when you arranged things in Kazuma's cabin to make it look like I did it, so that no one would suspect the passenger in the cabin next door. Yes. I went into cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nina was there. And then I found Stowaway in wardrobe, still sleeping. Right, that's when he found me.
So you worked out a plan to lay the blame on the stowaway.
I closed wardrobe doors and put back strange paper signs. Luckily for me, that's the only reason Susada-san started to believe me when I said I was innocent. I dragged young man's body to a good place and used ink that was spilling to write on floor. I wrote that word so that person who found him would look inside wardrobe and find Stowaway. And tell me, what of the glass bell?
It was by my feet, so I picked it up.
I see.
But it was dark in the cabin. I didn't notice the other half.
Then Angel went back to her cabin, and I finished job by pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway. Yes. Accordingly, the SS Beria did indeed come to an emergency halt at a little after 2 a.m., thus enticing the bolts in the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery. Oh boy. There's still one thing I don't understand, Miss Pavlova.
What?
Well, you said you told Kazuma about the fact that you'd run away from your home, and it's because you were worried he was going to tell the captain that you pushed him. Isn't that right?
Yes.
But even if he pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would that have been a problem?
It was what he said first that made me scared.
What he said first? What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. Oh, he thought he was going to call the inspector.
He said an inspector was his friend.
Ah, yes, meaning me, who was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard.
I thought that if the police knew about me, they would arrest me.
Now it's all becoming clear.
So before he could pull the bell cord, may I stop you a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Osogi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
I think he was trying to wake us up. Well, I'm not Kazuma, so I can't know for certain, but he was a man of his word. If he told you he wouldn't give your secret away, then he wouldn't have done.
No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not yet done, it seems. There is one more deduction to make.
What?
Another deduction? Yes, what action was the victim really about to take at that moment? He was about to open the wardrobe for us. Can we determine whether the young man's gaze was directed? Of course we can. First, consider the victim's location within his cabin. That's easy. I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yes, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still. That cabin has been my home for this entire voyage.
So this is how the cabin looked last night when Miss Pavlova visited Kazuma-sama.
Yes, it's exactly how it was. Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that a simple gaze can reveal all manner of truths. And not only that, in order to draw the right conclusion, you can't afford to be out by even a little bit when you're following the gaze to where it lands. So, when he turned away from Miss Pavlova, what exactly was Kazuma looking at? Easy. He was looking at the wardrobe.
Take that!
Considering everything that had happened last night, certainly it may have looked as though Kazuma was going to ring the bell cord. Yes, however, what is directly beside the bell cord? The wardrobe.
The wardrobe.
And more importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend, sleeping sound.
Oh. Miss Pavlova, please, think back very carefully. What were Mr. Osogi's exact words last night?
Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here.
Another opinion.
Yes, but not from a member of the crew. No, Mr. Osogi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if between them, they might be able to help in some way, no doubt.
Oh no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. It's too late for that. But I wish you had made sure of what Mr. Osogi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had.
Indeed, they would have. Miss Pavlova, I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But unfortunately, the truth is, a man lost his life because of what you did. And that will never change. I hope you'll never forget that.
I'm sorry. Really, I'm so sorry. What have I done?
Oh man. And so at long last, the mystery surrounding the tragic accident on the SS Gloria was finally laid to rest. Man. That was a good one. 9th January, 7:14 p.m., SS Gloria, first-class cabin passageway. What will happen to Miss Pavlova now, then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the police yard at Scotland Yard. The British police at Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to repatriate her? Apparently, the English detective can speak to the immigration office and sort all that out. Mr. Sholmes can do that? So she won't be going back to Russia then? No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I doubt she would be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. I'm sorry. Seaman Stroganoff? I wanted to help our angel, no matter what. But I didn't think about you, about how you lost good friends. I will go with Mina. I will give myself to British police. That's kind of you. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Kazuma's death feels like such a waste, but... Well, do what you can for Miss Pavlova, won't you? Duh. Well, I'm afraid you need to pack now. We're due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. As much as it pains me, I'm going to have to hand you over to the consul to arrange your passage back to Japan. Yes. I did stow away after all. I couldn't really expect any different. So, you should get back to your cabin now. Alright, well at least, we finally are free. It looks like my study tour to Great Britain is over before it even began then. To think that only days ago, Kazuma and I were laughing together about how we'd tear up the streets of London. It seems like a distant memory now. Man. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? Oh. Susato. Susato-san?
Naruto-san, I didn't know you had returned.
Oh, well, I haven't been back long. Inspector Hosonaga just told me I should pack, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all that. Oh.
I still can't believe this has happened. I can't believe someone's life can be over just like that.
Susato-san. Oh.
He had such grand ideas for this visit to Great Britain, so many dreams. And now they've been cruelly taken away, just as he has. I thought I could never forgive the person responsible. But now we know the truth, that it was just an accident. Just a silly series of mishaps. It's too much, Naruto-san. It's just too much.
Yes, I know. I wish there was something I could say.
Inspector!
My duty was to see Asagi-san safely to Great Britain. But I failed, and caused his two closest friends great pain and suffering as a result. I've let everyone down. And I will do anything to make up for my terrible blunder. Nobody blames you, Inspector. And I'm free again now. Huh? Surprise, Mr. Naruto. What is the meaning of this? Oh, a trifling matter. Simply that in my head I think I shall always picture you wearing those shackles. Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting. Sorry? I decided to restore them, for old time's sake, shall we say? You are a stowaway, after all. What a douche. He thinks this is funny. What a butthead.
Mr. Sholmes, we do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Not at all, not at all. And it's a little late. May I offer my... though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences? The loss of your companion is truly heart-rending. I hope that you will be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor.
I'm afraid that won't be possible.
We shall be disembarking at the next port in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened. What? Wait a minute. It's just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was the stowaway. The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. It was to be one lawyer and one assistant. Was to be?
In the light of Mr. Osogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead.
Oh no, I don't care for me, but... Poor Susada-san. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be of little value in Great Britain, I am afraid.
Oh, but...
But anyway, the voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
Yes?
What about us? Miss Sasato?
Yes?
Do you think perhaps I might be able to do it?
Ah,
But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruto. Oh, unless... Are you studying law? No, I'm not, but... I'm sorry, in that case, I don't think there's even a chance it could work. But as I said, there's still more than a month before we reach England's shores. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruto? Yes, I have a month in which to study, to learn what I must to become a lawyer in Great Britain.
Mr. Naruhodo.
That's ridiculous. Are you suggesting anybody could learn all of that in just 40 days? There's only one way to find out. I would work my fingers to the bone, Inspector, every single day. Will you let me try? And if by the time we reach Great Britain I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment is deemed appropriate. But why put yourself in such a difficult position? For Kazuma. He said there was something he had to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. He was passionate about it. I can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyway, it's for my own benefit, too. Oh boy. I will become a lawyer. I have to. What do you say, Mr. Sato? Maybe? She smiled.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you. Alright. Here we go. So, what does our inspector friend say?
Are you serious?
one lawyer and one assistant. The numbers are indisputable. No, it's madness. Yes, fascinating, wouldn't you agree? Fascinating. Duty and rules are the dull routine of existence that we all abhor. Give us interest, give us fascination. Speak for yourself. Besides, qualifications are no measure of a man. What matters is his character, no? And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes, from the early hours of this morning until this very moment now. Despite contending with the passing of his close companion, and despite the accusation of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage. Come on, Inspector. Very well. I'll think of a clever way to word my report to the Department of Justice. Inspector! After all, I did just make a promise, didn't I? I said that I'd do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here.
Oh, thank you, Inspector.
Alright, well I guess we're going to Great Britain.
If you'll excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. I need to discuss what to do next and how best to make my report.
Alright.
Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes, I'm going to try. I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer? Yes, I know, I'm worrying. I'm worrying.
I would be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant, after all.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like you to take charge of this.
What? Me? Are you sure?
I'm sure it's what Kazuma-sama would have wanted. Its name is Kuruma. It's a great sword that has been in the Oshogi clan for generations.
Very well, I accept. I'll treasure it always. Alright. So then, Miss Sasato, it seems we'll be working together for some time to come yet.
It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. And for the next 40 days, I shan't grant you a single minute of freedom. We shall fill every spare moment with study.
Yes, that's exactly what I need.
But before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask of you two.
Goodness, what is it?
Please, throw me to the ground. 3 times.
What?
I should never have doubted you. You were Kazuma-sama's closest friend. Of course you would never have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. But I allowed suspicion to get the better of me. And no matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable behavior.
No, you were in shock. You just found out about me stowing away, and the cabin's door was locked and...
No, I won't let you make excuses for me. Whatever the circumstances, I should never have thrown you. And not just once, but 5 times.
That number keeps creeping up, doesn't it?
Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it. Don't even think about it.
No. I don't even know how. I've never thrown anyone in my life. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes.
I observed your throwing technique several times with great interest. I confess I was most impressed. When did he see that? I presume that would be a form of Japanese wrestling.
Oh, well, in a way, it's not wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jujitsu technique.
Apparently it's called the Susato takedown, and it leaves your head swimming, believe me. How beguiling. I am a practitioner of combative arts myself. I am a somewhat accomplished boxer. There he goes, dancing around again. I wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arresting throw.
Yes, I'd be honored.
Then let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madam.
Oh, of course. Are you ready, Mr. Norohodo?
Sorry? We get thrown one more time.
As you can see, you throw from the abdomen.
Oh yes, arresting indeed. And that is what you term the Susato takedown, is it?
Actually, no. That was a Susato squash.
Oh boy. Well, in my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from an evening recently spent with Kazuma flickered into my mind. That's his sword. Karuma? That's right. It's a prize sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. I can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking a katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular, surely. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain, and I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. Oh boy. That important thing he had to do. I still don't know what that was. But hopefully we'll find out. But I'm going to see the place for myself and work it out. In Great Britain's capital, London. Oh boy. That should be the end of case 2. Yep. Well, that was a really good one. I mean, that final scene was a little long, but man, that was good. I'm looking forward to the third case here. Let's go ahead and give it a quick little save. But man, I'm just like, I love how the stories just like keep unfolding and unfolding, and like you think you have the answer, and then it's just like, nope, it's this completely different 180-degree turn. But, anyways, if you enjoyed that, if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/Liar27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games I'm playing each day, I post them on twitter.com/Liar27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.